Hi everyone, I'm going to present my UDL redesign activity based on a micro credentials and digital badges course that's currently being developed, and I'll talk a bit about that in a moment. So as I said, the course I'm using is a kind of course on digital badges and micro credentials, and the seed for this was from the National Forum. And it's to tie in with a WIT digital badge pilot, which will be rolled out around 2022. The course itself, it's aimed at lecturers and education support staff. And the main idea behind the course is to give WIT staff a bit of an insight into the current trend on micro-credentials and digital badges. Do a quick poll, get them to try micro-learning. There's a couple of case files where we've interviewed some staff at WIT who've taken them and facilitated these badges. Check out the Irish Outlook and then explain a bit about the WIT micro-credential pilot. And then there's a short bit at the end about designing your micro-credential where I bring in some instructional design frameworks. So this course has not yet been launched. It's probably going to launch early 2022. It was around 80% complete when I started off on the UDL badge. And it was great because I could go back and tweak some things, which is what I've done, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. So out of the three core principles, I decided for this course to talk about the multiple means of representation, where I've changed it so I presented information in a variety of ways to support understanding and help students who may have different learning styles and different abilities. So that's the core principle I'm looking at. What were the key findings from my reflections on my own teaching and learning practices? My previous role, I was at Delft University of Technology as an e-learning developer before moving back to Ireland in the summer. And the UDL was kind of seen as a standard, but it was a very light touch. And it was kind of assumed that all developers developing MOOCs would have a background in UDL, and we would kind of advise the course teams, the professors and lecturers we were working with on UDL. But we didn't really have a massive amount of contextual information on UDL. It's just kind of something we brought to it based on our experience. But doing the UDL badge, the practicalities were much more explicit, and they included an actual framework for inclusive teaching. This is one of the key things I took from this. Provided excellent theoretical background in the associated science and research. And I found that the key tangible findings, so something I could take away, that tangible aspect, was the multiple means of integrating UDL in my course design as an instructional designer here at WIT, and also the teaching and the courses that I lecture on. I also reflected on our cohorts and actually took the time to think about this properly instead of just doing it on a very kind of surface level. And that kind of opened up my eyes as well. So even though I'm targeting a lot of the staff as opposed to students, there is a lot of diversity there as well. And the case studies within the course provided excellent real-world applications of UDL. So that was great to see. I really enjoyed them. For me, the +1 framework was very, very important. And it was an excellent way to see how we can reduce or eliminate barriers to learning. And I know the guys on the UDL badge said, look, just take it small bit. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. But when there was so much information coming at us, it could have been a little bit stressful at times had I not found this +1 framework and kind of latched onto that like a lifebuoy in stormy waters, and it worked really well. So just adding one more way was very, very important, a key takeaway. So accessing content, demonstrating what they know in one way, that was what I focused on, and also helping to connect the why of learning, which I thought was important for self-regulated learning. This results in a reduction of barriers, not just for students who may have accessibility needs, but boosts the learning outcomes and opportunities among all students and learners. So describing the changes I've made to my teaching and learning practices to embed UDL, as I said, I focused on multiple means of representation, a +1 thinking, where I sought to make these simple but tangible changes. I wasn't, unfortunately, in a position to send out the surveys as the course is yet to launch. And it's something that I would certainly do in the future. I think it's an excellent way of getting in information that can then allow you to adapt and kind of to tweak the course based on this information. But I did critically reflect on the materials and the design. So the changes I've made, first off, I created a video outlining the key principles of UDL and the rationale for using this in the course. I even included videos from the National Forum and gave them links to sign up to the UDL badge themselves, because it is primarily staff that will be taking this. I captioned all the videos in the course for language accessibility issues. I created download spots in every component of the course. where when the learners saw this, they would know that this is a kind of an accessibility area. And within these download spots, I have PDFs of all the material in that component, including all the images, basically everything that you looked at in that component in a PDF, designed the same way. And editable MS Word docs as well for all content, so that can be the font and stuff can be edited as well for accessibility issues. And I've also created an online MS Word doc for all content to give them that immersive reader functionality in case they want to use this. And again, just to go back to my time in my previous role, I don't think I would have thought about it in this sense that doing these things is so important, so empowering. I don't think I would have kind of got into that level in my previous role. So certainly excellent takeaways from the badge. This is just a very quick overview. So the note on digital learning, I've created a zero section before the course starts and give a bit of background on UDL, the rationale for including it, and how to find more information. And here's just a sample of the page there and a short video where I'm talking about the rationale behind implementing UDL in the course and why I'm doing it and how I hope it will benefit the guys, with the links to ahead here and information on the badge then below that as well. Here's the download spots that I created. So wherever they saw that, the icon's the same for each download spot across all of the components in the course, of which I think there's about 8. The button below contains the MS Word online document of Section 1 Learning Objectives and UDL, within which the immersive reader can be utilised. I gave them some information on the immersive reader. I also gave them the PDF document there and the regular Word document, which can be edited in such a way to benefit learner accessibility, including a link there talking about the ways you can change a Word document to benefit learner accessibility. So these download spots for the entire course added content in 2 more formats, the immersive reader capability and also the Word and the PDF documentation there. The impact of this implementation of UDL. So my own reflections, again, I couldn't send out the survey, so this is just me reflecting on the work. It enabled me to reflect more deeply on the diversity of the learners, which was important. And I could think more critically about how I design my courses. So UDL firmly incorporated in the development process. So when I use Carpe Diem, storyboarding or prototyping, things like that, I will certainly include UDL in that and explore more deeply UDL in general, kind of going from a light touch to this more immersive way. So what further changes would I make to embed UDL in my teaching in the future? I would certainly maybe go to promote multiple means of engagement. I'll touch on this one now because I think I've done the representation one as best I can in this course, and survey the student cohorts, the learner cohorts, the grant options for activities and assessments, and include UDL. As I said, it's an integral part of storyboard and blueprint for course design when I use Carpe Diem and ABC learning frameworks with the lecturers here when developing and creating online courses. So overall, a massively positive experience for me. Delighted I did the course. And it's something I'll continue to use, and it's now for me, it's a given in course design. Same as I would focus on student engagement, I'd focus on UDL, and I think I got that from doing this badge. So thanks very much, guys. Take care.